the routes that were primarily driven by Go First, were their primary routes, are now being taken by Air India Vistara and other existing airlines, as Go First is hoping to revive, come back, but that hasn't happened just as yet. But what's important in all of this, and what's concerning even the Civil Aviation Ministry, is the money that you are now going to pay on the same routes, which is as much as 5 times of what you were paying just about a month ago.
Yeah, 5 times on select few routes, like let's say Delhi-Leh, which is not frequented, you know, very often in the whole calendar year if you look at it. But yeah, I mean, a good 2x, 3x increase is something that even we have noticed, right? A Delhi-Mumbai flight that would cost you, let's say, 5,500 rupees or so, is now costing you nothing less than almost 10,000 rupees, 9,800, 9,900 rupees. So obviously this was bound to happen. And this is also something, Shweta, that, you know, we've continued to talk about on our show more often than one would like. But I think the math is simple. There is demand and supply. Supply has been constrained. Demand increases. Equilibrium goes to a higher point on the y-axis, right? So very simply put, I think as and it's not that, you know, somebody from the other airlines is sitting on the desk and curating these prices looking at demand. It's all algorithmically driven. So you have tools which assess how much demand is coming in, and basis that cost gets optimized upwards or downwards. So for example, if you want to take a flight in the evening today, and if the airline that you prefer to fly on has seen a few cancellations, prices will also be revised downwards, because it is very expensive for aircraft operators to carry even a single seat vacant. Even if you make 1,000 rupees on that seat, it is money coming in as opposed to carrying an empty seat. But I think it is a pure function of demand and supply, and until you have more airlines in the fray and unless you have more aircraft flying and plying these particular sectors, and these more frequented sectors get populated with enough and more options, with flights, you know, every 10 minutes or so, it is going to be an expensive affair. So I think we need to pin our hopes on Go First coming back to the skies soon. We need to pin our hopes on a jet making a comeback at some point, and we need to pin our hopes on SpiceJet not going down as well. So we need to have a healthy mix of airlines, otherwise existing carriers will take time augmenting their fleet, will take time getting more pilots, and will take time getting parking bays, permissions, etc., licenses for the additional fleet to fly. Until then, the demand is not something you can control, and is not something you would like to control as an economy. You don't want to discourage people from flying. You want people to fly, you want economic activity to happen. But when supply is limited, prices are going to go higher, and the equilibrium would be met at a 2x, 3x, 5x depending on the supply-demand gap.
Okay. And, you know, I want to quickly also touch upon price cartelization, because in the last week, the entirety of last week, we've been discussing how fewer flyers or fewer airline options also mean that existing players can sit on the table and decide what the prices are going to be. And I'm giving an example here of Delhi-Ahmedabad route, not a Delhi-Leh route, which we understand is not very populous. It is relatively lean, but Go First operated as many as 52 flights in a week in Delhi-Ahmedabad route. In the past 1 week, prices have surged as much as 400%, and I'm reading this from Business Standard at this point in time, so this is not an independent report. But what essentially we're trying to arrive at here is that these are not routes that are not frequented. These are also routes which are frequented, and there is a massive jump in prices, as much as 400%, Karthik.
Agreed. But, you know, I would not want to put a tag on cartelization just yet.
Okay.
I think it is a clear function of, see, 52 flights a week, give or take, let's say, you know, weekends, if people are not doing Delhi, Ahmedabad, you're looking at 10 flights a day. 10 flights a day, each aircraft carrying 300 passengers. To and fro, 600 passengers in every leg, 10 times over in a day, 6,000 people into 5 times a week, 30,000 people. 30,000 people left without a particular carrier that would take them to their destination and back, need to depend on other options available. Now, even if, let's say, this was just 10% of the market share that Go Air commanded in that sector, will other airlines be able to compensate for this 10% by diverting flights from other profitable sectors into this particular sector? Perhaps not. So, in the absence of other players being able to fill in this gap on the number of flights and the number of seats that can be flown to and fro, price is the only sort of equilibrium balancer that you have.
Okay.
And naturally, if there is 30,000 more demand hitting your servers for a particular air ticket, your server is going to calibrate that and offer it at a price where many from this 30,000 would drop out because it's too expensive for them, and would maybe look at an IRCTC website to take a train if they can, if time permits them and
Absolutely.
logistics permit them. But those who are traveling for business or those who need to travel irrespective will shell out 400% more, 4 times more, and take that flight.
Okay, I would take a train. I think taking a train is not a bad option if it's a short journey. But of course, hopes are pinned on.
So actually, that's why you
go
need trains
first.
like Vande Bharat also to really dot every sector, every railway station, at least all the big
all major
cities, all
stations.
major stations. So I mean, it has to compensate at somewhere for air travel becoming expensive. But again, these are all very, very long term sort of crystal ball gazing. You can't set up new routes even in trains overnight, like you can't get new aircraft overnight.
Absolutely, and so therefore all hopes are pinned on Go First, and hopefully we'll come back shortly, if not late, maybe within a month's time. And of course, DGCA, remember, has asked Go First to a price of whatever steps that they have taken so far in order to ensure that their strategy is in place, that they go back to taking to skies very, very shortly.